All right, good evening, good afternoon, sorry, everyone. It's 1:05 p.m. on a Thursday, November 20th, 2025. I called a meeting on public safety and economy meeting to order. I want to welcome council members Kiaina and Nishimoto. Pursuant to section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in person in the council chamber and remotely when each agenda item is taken up. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Section 1-113 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. Oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii. Additional time may be necessary, will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony. Before testifying, each person shall state their name. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When the timer goes off, please conclude your remarks promptly. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. Once in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or telephone will then be called upon. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. For persons who are testifying by telephone only, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When the number is called, please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. When I call for anyone else standing by remotely, please utilize the Zoom raise hand button to indicate your desire to speak. For these joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television when you're called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. HR Section 92-3.7 requires that all votes at remote meetings be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. Written testimonies include testifier's email address, the phone number, and will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off all cell phones for the duration of the meeting. I want to welcome Councilmember Santos Tam, as well Councilmember Wire. Item number 1, Resolution 25-292, confirming the appointment of Anna Neubauer to serve on the Citizens Advisory Commission on Emergency Management of the City and County of Honolulu for a term to expire on March 31st, 2030. Members, we have a proposed CD1 submitted by myself for your information. The amendments are listed on the agenda, and I think Anna is here. Is Anna here? Okay, Anna? You press the, yeah, thank you.
Aloha, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate the opportunity to be considered for this commission appointment. We're excited to be able to continue to support the disaster response efforts on Oahu for both animals and people, and I think this would be a great furtherance of the collaboration that we do with the city and county already to have our representation on this commission.
Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, without proceed with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Is there anyone that wants to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, remote?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, members, we are in discussion. All right, the chair recommends that Resolution 25-292 be amended to a posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0900-1114-2025, 12:22 p.m. Any discussions? Any objections? Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? The resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-292 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay. Moving on to item number 2, Resolution 25-290, confirming the appointment of Blakely Parsons to serve on the Police Commission of the City and County of Honolulu for a term to expire on December 31st, 2030. Members, we have a proposed hand-carried CD1 submitted by myself. The CD1 makes the following amendments. Revises the fourth whereas clause to specify the mayor's message number and correct the date of the mayor's message to October 8, 2025. Makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments to conform to standard legislative drafting conventions. And here to speak, Mr. Parsons, would you like to say a few words? I see you coming up.
Aloha, Chair, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to serve. My focus really here is simple: to support good policing, provide fair and transparent oversight, and ensure that we can be a good conduit for the people, to the police department and to the government. So I appreciate the opportunity and thank you for the consideration. Mahalo.
Members, any questions for the testifier? Okay, Councilmember Kiaina.
No questions. I just wanted to say again that I appreciate your outreaching to the administration after seeing what has transpired in the past, realizing that there is a need and stepping up to it. For those who are watching, I know that there's going to be an upcoming vacancy. Anyone who wants to be on the police commission, I highly recommend that you send your name or email the mayor's administration to say that you want to be on the police commission. As I've stated previously, while I appreciate the more recent nominee who has law enforcement background on the U.S. continent, it would be really wonderful to have nominees from our local law enforcement to be able to be on the commission. Anyway, thank you and fully support your nomination.
Thank you, Councilmember. I do have several questions. What perspectives and experience do you bring to the commission?
Sure. So my main approach from coming from this, and I talked about this with several of you, is, really I have two young daughters, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So public safety is kind of very near to and dear to me as a father, but as just a resident here for many years. And so I come from that personal passion of wanting to see public safety and having that kind of trust with our police department, with the community. From a professional standpoint, I've sat on boards and commissions and overseen executives who've managed multi-$100-million budgets. And so I have the professional experience to oversee what we need from probably an executive level to make sure that we have the right people and policies and procedures in place to ensure that we're operating efficiently and transparently.
What do you believe are the most significant challenges currently facing the commission?
Sure. Obviously, I think everybody's top of mind is making sure we have the right chief in place. I think that's the kind of penultimate power of the commission, to ensure that we have a police chief who is going to be here for the long run and ensure that we can serve the people of Oahu. So definitely identifying and putting that person in place and supporting them is probably the most important thing for the commission moving forward. And I think oversight from there moving forward. I mean, ensuring that there's so many things we're challenged with right now, just like any industry, but especially in policing. You're dealing with staffing challenges and retaining challenges and retaining employees. So ensuring that we have somebody in there and then supporting them and they're following through on what they say to ensure that we recruit police officers to be here for generations and to continue that pipeline. I think those are going to be the two biggest challenges.
Okay. Last question is, what challenges do you anticipate the commission will encounter in the process of hiring the new police chief for the city and county of Honolulu, and what qualifications do you believe are the most important for this position, and do you plan to ensure that the hiring process is conducted as transparently as possible?
Sure. I think the last part you said is probably going to be the biggest challenge, and that's with any type of search like this, is ensuring that it's transparent. The commission is going to have to do, especially after the last few years, is have to go above and beyond to show how transparent, how open the process is. So I think that's going to be the #1 challenge for the commission.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Sorry. We'll now proceed to in-person testimony in the council chamber. Is there anyone here to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, we move on to remote.
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Members, we are in discussion. Okay. The chair recommends that resolution 25-290 be amended to a hand-carry CD1 identified as OCS 2025-09-116, 11-19, 2025, at 7:01 a.m. Any discussions, any objections, any reservations? The resolution has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 25-290 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 3, Resolution 25-301, affirming support for the constitutional rights of all residents of the city. Do we have anyone in the administration that wants to say a few words? Okay. I'm gonna have the introducers of the measure go ahead and say a few words. Councilmember Wire.
Well, Chair, extremely grateful for your leadership in agendizing this and providing an opportunity for the community to weigh in. I think the intent and purpose behind the resolution is to, at its core, just depoliticize the well-being and existence of individuals and just acknowledge that within the diversity of our community, there's beauty in that diversity, I should say, and that as a city, we intend to fully represent and stand with every member of our community, and we're here to continue to do that in the years to come. We introed this resolution in solidarity also with Hawaii County, and just wanting to acknowledge that this is in line with our values, and both our values as a city and also our values as a state, and wanted to just ensure that, particularly those that are here to testify today, and those that maybe that are not because they don't feel comfortable being in these spaces during these times, that we see them, we hear them, and we recognize their value. So mahalo, Chair.
Councilmember Stanzo.
Thank you, Chair. I'll provide comments after.
All right, we'll now proceed with in-person testimony in the council chamber. I know we have a few, so if you guys can start making your line. And okay, we have Robert Perkinson first, followed by Melissa Yamanaka, and then Bettina Mock. So if you guys can please go ahead and start forming a line.
Aloha, I'm Robert Perkinson. I'm a professor at UH. Thank you very much for having me, and some of my students are here today too. I'm speaking in favor of the resolution. I want to commend the council for drafting this resolution quite shrewdly, I think, to reaffirm Hawaii's values, but sidestep the caustic political polarization going on the continent. I think it's also really important that we signal that we want to continue the long road toward professionalization that HPD and other police forces have successfully moved forward over many years. I'm a historian of criminal justice, and I can tell you, even though we have conflicts between community and police sometimes now, HPD and other agencies are so much more professional. They're so much better at domestic violence, at de-escalation. They're so much more disciplined and better trained. And we're at a moment of danger now when a lot of federal agencies are scaling up so rapidly, and they're curtailing that training or pushing it toward aggression away from professionalism. And we may not be able to stop that, but we don't have to be all implicated in it. So I think it's a really smart resolution, and I really appreciate you putting it forward and hearing it. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you, sir. Followed by Melissa Yamanaka and then Bettina Mock.
Hello, and thank you all for having us here today. My name is Melissa, and I grew up in District 8 in Mililani. While growing up in Mililani, I attended Hawaii Baptist Academy in Nu'uanu, where I later graduated. I now live in Macaulay while attending UH Manoa. Hawaii is a very small state with a tight-knit community. This community is one of the main reasons why I love my home so much. Deportations have caused widespread panic and fear throughout the areas in which ICE agents are violently detaining individuals without being allowed to defend themselves. This type of fear and panic has no place in our home. Our state is known for its strong sense of community, kuleana, the idea that we as a community take care of one another. Supporting or condoning the type of violence and hysteria that these deportations have caused would not only shine a negative light on our community, but would also send a detrimental message to many of those who live here. Many immigrants live amongst us as friends, neighbors, coworkers, and simply fellow human beings who are working hard to live a life that so many of us take for granted. Council members, I know you care about the well-being of local families and protecting the state of the community. By endorsing this resolution, it's a way to live out those values of aloha, compassion, and justice that define who we are as a community in Hawaii. Thank you.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to Bettina Mock, followed by Aria Juliet Castillo, Elizabeth Saldana, Leilani Stacy, and Helena Willis.
Hello, my name is Bettina Mock. I'm the Executive Director of the Legal Clinic. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you for considering this resolution. We are 100% in support. Thank you especially to those who moved quickly to author it, as many of us are in the middle of fighting for community members' rights to stay in Hawaii and remain unified with their families. Detentions and deportations have escalated to 3 times what they were at this time last year. And just a handful of nonprofit immigration attorneys for the entire state, not just the county, are working around the clock, not only to ensure representation for our own county residents and state residents, but for those shipped to Honolulu from other states. Most of those recently detained have no criminal history, and many have a pathway to relief if they obtain legal counsel. In fact, studies show over 5 times the opportunity to obtain relief. We're doing our part, and we ask the county to not only approve this resolution, but to consider building and funding for immigration legal services in next year's budget so we can continue to provide due process and the opportunity to remain in Hawaii for our county's residents. Thank you.
Questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's move on. Leilani Stacy, followed by Helena Willis, and then Lila Galirado. If I mispronounce the name, I apologize. You guys can talk to me after. All right.
Aloha, my name is Leilani Stacy, and I'm the Immigrants' Rights Attorneys at the American Civil Liberties Union of Hawaii, and we support Resolution 25301 in its entirety. Here at home in our islands, we've seen a massive increase in the immigration raids and deportations, as well as the detention of our neighbors. And that's doing nothing to make our communities safer or to improve our immigration system and to help it function more effectively. We've seen this deep fear in our residents. Many people are now scared to leave their homes to go to work, school, or even receive medical care. And we've also seen an increase on the attack to our constitutional rights to free speech, privacy, and reproductive freedom. We want our neighbors and our keiki, our families, to return to work, school, and feeling joy in our community once again. And we want our community members to trust our public officials and HPD in continuing to keep our community safe. So we thank you so much for introducing the resolution, and mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Okay. Any questions for the testifier? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Helena Willis, followed by Lila G. How's that? Can I do that instead? And then followed by Alex Sumlau.
Aloha Chair Tulba and council members. My name is Helena Willis, and I am a resident of Manoa. I'm here today in strong support of this resolution because for many families like mine, immigration is a lived experience. My mother left the independent state of Samoa on her own and moved to American Samoa with no support system. She worked tirelessly as a single mother to provide for my brother and later for me, and her sacrifices are why I am able to pursue higher education today in Hawaii. Immigrants make up 18% of Hawaii's population, and that's including many Kofa migrants. And 2 in 7 keikis have at least one immigrant parent. These families are woven into our schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods. Upholding constitutional protections for all residents strengthens public trust, keeps families together, and ensures our children are safe and have access to education and due process. This resolution reflects Hawaii's value of aloha, compassion, and justice. So I respectfully urge you to please vote yes on this for all of our families and members of the community. Thank you.
Questions for the testifier? Okay, move on to Lila, followed by Alex, and then Liza Ryan Gill.
Perfect, on the right, I got this.
Aloha, Chair Tulba and council members. My name is Leila Marie Guerrero Gallardo. I am a student at UH Manoa studying political science, ethnic studies, and American studies. I'm also a first-generation college student and the granddaughter of immigrants who came here searching for dignity, stability, and a fair chance. I'm here today in strong support of Resolution 25-301 because across Hawaii, Kofa immigrants, especially our wahine, our women, are facing rising rates of domestic violence, yet are afraid to seek help. Too often, survivors are told that reporting abuse could put their immigration status at risk or lead to detention or deportation. When police are seen or used as de facto immigrant agents, it sends a message that calling 911 is dangerous. It means abusers gain more power and victims are forced into silence. This doesn't make our communities feel safer, it makes them more vulnerable. Public safety depends on trust. Mahalo for your time and consideration, Council.
Thank you. You did a great job. All right. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, we'll keep moving on. Let's see. Alex Sumalau, followed by Lisa Ryan, and then Aiden, and then Quinn Grimes.
Aloha, Chair and Council members. My name is Alex Sumailo, and I'm a student at UH Manoa. I currently live in Waipahu, part of Councilmember Tulba's district. So Hawaii has always been a place of migration, diversity, and aloha. And our islands are built on the contribution of immigrants from the plantation era until now. And our strength lies in our multicultural heritage. I'm testifying in support of Resolution 25-301 to ensure that our city cooperates with federal immigration enforcement only to the extent required by law. Why it matters to Honolulu? One, HPD is already severely understaffed. The department is down more than 460 officers, with vacancies increasing by 60% since 2020. HPD has had to rely on extreme overtime, with over 125 officers logging more than 1,000 hours of overtime in a single year. Adding immigration enforcement duties would stretch resources even thinner, leaving neighborhood beats unfilled and reducing capacity to address violent crime. Additionally, national surveys show that 67% of police officers report difficulty protecting crime survivors because immigrants fear deportation, and 54% of judges have seen cases interrupted because victims were too afraid to appear in court. When immigrants fear that contacting HPD could lead to deportation, crimes go unreported, witnesses stay silent, and our entire community becomes less safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Ko Waipahu. Okay, Liza, Aiden, Quinn, thank you.
Aloha, council members. Liza Ryan Gill with the Hawaii Coalition of Immigrant Rights. We represent about 30 immigrant-serving organizations across the Pai'aina. I personally live in Chair Waters District and really excited to support both the amazing students coming out for this resolution and just a few things to communicate. I will say one of the reasons why we put this, why we wanted to see this move forward is that words have power. And in this moment, it's really important that we send clear messages that everybody's life on Oahu matters, that their constitutional rights matter, and that despite anything that they may hear, they still have access to justice. I will say that myself and Dr. Agbayani had the chance to sit with Interim Chief Vanek and many of his majors and have a great conversation about their desire to maintain that community trust with all of our immigrant communities. And so I have every confidence that HPD has a desire just to continue to build that trust. And we thank you for support on this resolution. Mahalo.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you. Aiden, followed by Quinn Grimes and then Chris.
Hello, my name is Aiden Landeros. I am a resident of Wahiawa, a UH Manoa student, and I am here to testify in my full support of Resolution 25-301. I may not look it, but I was raised here on island and have familial ties to immigrants from the Philippines. I also have family who immigrated from Mexico, and lots of my relatives, including me, wouldn't exist today if they didn't push through for a better life. I am certain that this background isn't exclusive to me and can be applied to many members of the community. These residents who come from a different country have become an integral part of society and should thus be treated as so. They should have the same constitutional rights as citizens of Hawaii, regardless of their immigration status. Our community is built upon the belief of diversity and unity, with promises of new beginnings and strong connections. All residents contribute to the culture, economy, and in some cases, our daily lives. To promote togetherness would be to strengthen the bond of the people of Hawaii and emphasize the aloha spirit. Allowing this resolution would assist in achieving this outcome, which only benefits all residents of Oahu. I understand that you all have good intentions, and I appreciate it greatly, but this isn't just about politics. It's about basic human rights that should be accessible to all residents of Hawaii. Thus, I hope to gain your support on this resolution, and mahalo for the opportunity to testify.
Sorry, we might be related. What you talking about, ma'am? You look just Filipino. We might be related. Any questions? Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your testimony. All right, let's move on to Quinn Grimes, followed by Chris, Kay, Harrison Fulbright, and Oral Sledge.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Quinn Grimes, and I've lived in District 4 all my life. I'm testifying today to comment on Resolution 25-301 because it is essential for the city to ensure that the Honolulu Police Department focuses on its core responsibilities. In recent years, HPD's resources have been stretched thin. With roughly 450 officer vacancies, the department is already operating under significant strain. Asking HPD to take on additional responsibilities, especially duties outside its original jurisdiction or actions that it could effectively deputize local officers into federal roles, would place unnecessary burdens on an already overextended department. Furthermore, community trust is a crucial part of effective policing, and this resolution helps to protect that. If residents, particularly undocumented immigrants, fear that interactions with HPD could lead to further consequences, then they will be too afraid to report crimes. This resolution supports that balance, and thank you for letting me testify today.
Questions for the testifier? Can I just say thank you to the students for sticking to the 1-minute testimony? Awesome, teacher. Come on. Yeah. Sometimes, thank you, man. Appreciate that. All right, let's move on. Chris K., followed by Harrison Fulbright, Oral Sledge, and, okay, yeah, that's right.
Aloha, my name is Chris Kelly Inohomoku, and I am from Ewa Beach. I am a full-time student at UH Manoa, and I am here today to ask for your support on Resolution 25-301 that protects due process and basic human rights for immigrants on our islands. Hawaii has always been a place shaped by migration, hard work, and hope. Many of our neighbors, classmates, and coworkers are immigrants who contribute to our community every single day. Some have lived here for decades, raised families, and built their lives here. They deserve the same fairness and clarity in legal processes that any of us would want for our own loved ones. This bill isn't just about politics. It's about safety, trust, and justice. When people understand their rights, when they aren't afraid to report crimes, seek help, or show up to school and work, our entire community becomes stronger and safer. As someone who grew up here and now studies social work, I believe deeply in supporting the dignity of every person. Mahalo for your time.
Thank you. Go Ewa Beach. Okay, let's see. Harrison, followed by Oral Sledge, Edward Stoddard, if you're here, Alec Weicker, Lauren, and then Kai.
Hello, my name is Harrison Fulbright. I'm a social work student at UH, and I've lived in Kaneohe District 4 my whole life. I'm here to support the resolution. I believe that local PD should not cooperate with the federal government beyond what is legally necessary due to staffing and overworking concerns mainly. I understand that the Fed is likely to provide considerable financial incentive for local police to cooperate, but I believe that the long-term detriment outweighs the short-term gains of anything promised by the Fed. I believe just the relationship with people between the city and the people, of course, weighs heavily on the scale, and I'm urging you to consider immigrants for what they are, which are valuable members of our community that should not be traded for resources in what is ultimately a transaction with the federal government. Thank you.
Questions for the testifier? Okay, move on. Oral Sledge, followed by Alec.
Good afternoon, esteemed council members. I am Oral M. Sledge. registered voter, as well as a filmmaker, a U.S. Air Force Vietnam era veteran, a court-ordered single parent of a 13-year-old daughter, and a full-time student at UH Manoa. Being the descendant of a group of peoples kidnapped, imported against their will, and exploited for hundreds of years, one might say it odd. For me, my concern for people being deported is unusual. However, my concern for others does not end because of lack of personal ties. Empathy is universal. How the city of Honolulu handles and interacts with ICE during this turbulent time will resound around the world. If the city allows the violation of human rights, illegal apprehensions, and violation of law to go unaddressed, as you have seen in other cities around the country, this belief in Hawaii being a paradise filled with aloha becomes damaged or eradicated. If the tourism dollar that we all depend upon diminishes permanently, Hawaiians will suffer. At the very least, I encourage the City Council to amend the introduced Resolution 25301 so as to establish and create a plan of action that supports the God-given rights of all Honolulu residents facing deportation and provide at no cost to the accused legal representation and or pro se support in federal court. This action will show the world Hawaii is in fact unique, compassionate, and a paradise all dream of coming to enjoy someday. Mahalo, aloha.
Questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you, sir. We'll move on to Alec Weckers, followed by Lauren and Kai Jing. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Go ahead, sir.
Aloha, Maikako. I urge you to pass this resolution. My name is Alec Weicker. I'm a grad student at UH Manoa studying the legal history and framework surrounding COFA, and I'm also a former affiliated researcher with the FSM Embassy in DC. We are at a crisis point. During my last research stay at the FSM Embassy this summer, the federal government requested the deportation of countless COFA citizens. It was up to the embassy to painstakingly go through each case individually to ensure the rights of Micronesians were being respected and that charges for deportation were legitimate. Recent data from the Deportation Data Project shows a major uptick in deportations of Pacific Islanders in Hawaii, especially COFA citizens, doubling from 12 documented cases last year to at least 23 in the first 6 months of this year alone. The history is clear. When constitutional rights are not prioritized, violations occur. This is why for 25 years, Micronesians lost access to Medicaid, food stamps, and more, and it was only by taking the government to court for violation of constitutional rights that access to state health care was restored. So thank you. Prioritizing constitutional rights up front is better than trying to clean up after those violations after they occur. Thanks.
Questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you, sir. Let's move on to Lauren, and then followed by Kai Quinn or Jing.
Oh, this is so high. Go. Aloha, council members. My name is Lauren Tyron, and I'm here today to share my testimony in support of Resolution 25301. I'm a community organizer for the Hawaii Workers Center, and I organize workers from the islands of Cook and Marshall Islands, many of which are victims of wage theft, discrimination, insecure housing, and overall a system of neglect. For the past 5 months, we have gone door to door and talked to almost 200 residents in places like KPT to learn about the conditions that COFA workers face every day. Coming here with their family members at the forefront of their minds, some work upwards of 80 hours every week and are not given overtime pay. Some are made to pay their bosses for every word they say in their own language, and we have even heard from folks that the money they receive through their jobs, Social Security, or disability leaves them with almost nothing after paying their bills. These stories are examples of the conditions just further compounded by the current administration's attacks on migrant workers and the working class. Because of this, the Hawaii Workers Center has helped form a rapid response coalition of organizations across Oahu. While we do our part, we're asking that you will do yours and stand up, defend, and protect our community members and support Resolution 25301. Thank you.
Questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Kai Ching Su. I'm a PhD student at UH Manoa. I'm also an international student. A lot of us come to Hawaii to study not because of the palm trees and beaches, but because it is a very critical space that produces cutting-edge scholarship, very reflective community because of the diverse history and community here. But however, in the past few months, I've noticed that a lot of my international friends, colleagues, myself included, have to carry the anxiety and fear living under a government that is targeting non-US citizens. As international students and workers, we are already more vulnerable. Now we're even more uncertain about our academic future, making it hard to focus on our scholarship, We're less willing to speak up for ourselves, wary of retaliation. It takes me a lot of courage to be here, and even though I know I do have the constitutional right to freedom of speech. So I urge you to pass this resolution to protect the constitutional rights of all residents of Honolulu and to protect Hawaii's critical, rigorous, diverse higher education, which many of us in this room has benefited. Thank you very much.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else in the chamber that wants to testify? You can go up and speak, state your first and your last name.
Hello. Aloha, Chair. My name is Edward, and I'm submitting testimony in strong support of 25301, supporting that constitutional rights are accessible for all Hawaii residents. Our main goal is to ensure that anyone going through the immigration court system should have a fair shot to help maintain a fair and just community. Immigration law is complex even for lawyers, and many individuals in our state face the court system without any legal representation. Universal representation would give residents a chance to understand their rights and navigate the system to present their cases accurately and strategically. When people have proper representation, court proceedings move more efficiently and outcomes are more just. Hawaii has always valued inclusivity and compassion. 25301 holds up those values by making sure everyone in our community is treated with dignity, fairness by the law. I respectfully ask for your support to pass 25301. Mahalo for your time and consideration.
Edward, can you state your last name?
Edward Stoddard.
Thank you. Anyone else in the chamber that would like to testify? Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair. And thank you, Councilman White, for putting this timely resolution. It has been a very disturbing ICE invading our community and hurting people and not providing due process. I work and live in Chinatown, and I represent Chinatown Business and Community Association. People live in fear, so I hope with this resolution we can muster enough reasons to have ICE work with HPD, with warrants, before they go and raid businesses, restaurants, and pull folks out of cars or their homes. So thank you so much for this resolution. We need to act on this. Thank you.
Can you state your first and your last name for the record?
Chulan Schubert Kwok, Chinatown Business and Community Association.
And
Thank
the mayor of downtown, right? All right.
I work with a lot of them, and I understand, and they are what allows our community to have diversity and provide talents, and a lot of things that are good come from immigrants. We are all a country of immigrants. So I hope that with this, we can move on to protect our citizens in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello, Chair. My name is Morgan Lee, and I'm here today because I love immigrants. Roughly 1 in 5 Hawaii residents were born outside of the United States, and these people are our colleagues, our loved ones. They are essential members of our island. They are leaders, and yet in recent months, we've seen an administration that is willing to go out and intimidate immigrants. They're detaining longtime undocumented residents, but they're also detaining and arresting those with legal status, including green card holders and naturalized citizens. I believe that this climate of fear and uncertainty discourages people from being a part of public life, and at worst, drives them from our country altogether. I support this resolution as was one step in fighting the federal government's aggression and reaffirm our inclusivity and hospitality on the island. Thank you.
Questions for the testifier? Okay. Is there anybody else in the chamber that would like to testify? Okay, clerks, we'll move on to remote testimony. Okay. Do we have? We have several, right? Online? I see a hand raised. Is Aria online?
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Aria.
Hello?
I see Aria's hands. So I'm gonna go according to this list. So I see Aria Juliet Castillo, followed by Elizabeth Saldana. So Aria, you can go ahead.
Aloha, Chair and Council members. My name is Aria Julia Castillo. I am submitting testimony on behalf of Hawaii Alliance for Progressive Action in strong support of Resolution 25-301. This resolution reaffirms a basic principle. Everybody in Honolulu, regardless of citizenship or immigration status, is entitled to the constitutional rights guaranteed under federal and state law. Making this clear strengthens trust, safety, and engagement, especially for our immigrant and mixed status families who may not always feel seen or protected, but we see you and we love you. We also support the resolution's call for the city to review its agreements and ensure all departments operate in full alignment with constitutional protections. Protecting immigrant communities and protecting the civil rights of all residents go hand in hand. When people feel unsafe speaking out or participating, our entire community is weakened. We respectfully urge the council to adopt Resolution 25-301. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? All right, let's move on to Elizabeth Saldana. Is Elizabeth online?
Chair, the caller is not logged on.
Okay, move on to Kyla Branco. Is Kyla online?
Aloha, Chair Tulba and council members. I am Kayla Branco, a resident of Ewa Beach in District 1. Growing up in Hawaii, I have always taken pride in our diversity. Our state is a melting pot. Immigrants make up almost 20% of our state, and they contribute so much to our economy, our culture, and the aloha spirit. Police must not aggressively enforce immigration law, and they must not do more than what is required. This keeps our immigrant community safe by decreasing unlawful detainment, deportation, and it upholds civil liberties. Blurring the responsibilities of immigration officers and HPD will cause our community to become wary of police officers, causing people to feel discouraged even when they need help, and it creates mistrust. Safety of our community is of the utmost importance. Here in West Oahu, I see crime and public safety concerns rise. I care immensely about our community, and I want to see my immigrant neighbors flourish. We must ensure that we are all taken care of regardless of immigration status. I respectfully urge you to vote in support of this resolution. Mahalo.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Pursuant to Council Rule 8D, I designate Councilmember Wire as temporary voting member. Thank you for helping us achieve quorum. Okay, we'll move on to Representative Della Bellotti.
Testifier is not logged on.
Okay. Lauren Audivar.
Testifier is not logged on.
Okay. That's all I got on my paper.
Chair, we have that one caller, 175.
Okay. Okay. Three digits of 175. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. Tim Gary. Great testimony from the class at UH. They all had very good points. I'd just like to bring up a couple things. According to some studies, it varies in the amount of illegal migrants in Hawaii from anywhere from 25 to the top of 100,000, 1 in 10 on Oahu. I just wondered what council thought of that, and if reading through the resolution, it kind of reads like we're going to be a sanctuary city. And the mayor has publicly came out and said, we are not a sanctuary city. So I'd just like to applaud all the people that testified. They all have really good points. But I'd kind of like to play devil's advocate and give out some of the stats, and like to see a study on if and when, how many illegal migrants here and how it affects it. Thanks for your time.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gary. All right, are there anyone else online willing to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. I will ask administration if they wanted to say a few words.
Good afternoon, Chair Tulba, council members. Krishna Jara, I'm Deputy Managing Director. First of all, I'd like to thank all the testifiers here today in person and online for their vibrant defense of the rule of law and the U.S. Constitution, as well as the diverse communities that are here on this island. I do want to make clear, and I know all of our council members know this, but for those who are listening, that the city and county in Honolulu always upholds the rule of law and the U.S. Constitution, and that would include any of our written agreements, our written memoranda. Those all go through a vetting process with experienced attorneys who make sure that we are doing the correct thing. So I just wanted to share that with the audience, and thank you, council members, for hearing this important matter.
Questions for the Deputy Managing Director? Okay, thank you. Members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for both the testifiers who've come here today, as well as the administration on their commitment to upholding the law and the laws of of our state, as well as the U.S. Constitution. I fully support the constitutional rights of our immigrant communities and appreciate their contributions to Hawaii NE, as well as the United States. In particular, with regard to the citizens of the freely associated states under the Compact of Free Association, I do want to caution advocates, because I know you support both those citizens as well as immigrants, but they're two separate classes of individuals, and as a result, their status is different. And right now, the citizens of the freely associated states are being wrapped up into this larger debate, and I'm very concerned for them. They're impacting certain employees of ours at the City of County of Honolulu who don't know the difference in their status, including our bus drivers. And so I would encourage those advocates to work in concert with the Department of Interior's Office of Insular Affairs. They have an interagency group in insular areas, and I would be willing to work with you to ensure that there be a comprehensive executive branch-wide approach of how to deal with those citizens. When I was at Interior, to me, it didn't matter who was in the White House or in Congress, because they are newer countries to the world of nations. The United States federal agencies don't know how to treat them. So I just wanted to urge some caution on that regard. I do not, so while I support our immigrant communities, as well as citizens from the freely associated states who live in the United States, I do not support, however, individuals who've come here illegally and have not undertaken any steps available to them to make themselves legal after their arrival. And I do know I understand the complexity of such individuals, but you can't just be hiding. Please come forth. There are mechanisms available, both domestic agencies as well as the State Department. So all I just ask is for them to do what is right. I do support the intent of the resolution, but I have concerns over two whereas clauses that I don't believe is necessary on page 2, relating to both a directive to the mayor as well as a directive to the Honolulu Police Department. The first 3 be it resolved clauses on page 2, to me, are sufficient, and I think gets the job done. I think that it's unnecessary to be able to have those 2 whereas clauses, and so I would be seeking to strike those provisions from the resolution, and I would support the underlying measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kiaina. I do have a question for the administration. Does the department or administration support the resolution?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, much like Councilmember Kiaina, the spirit of the resolution, 100%. I did note in my remarks that the agreements that we're being asked to review, we already do that. That's what we do in the normal course. And with respect to HPD, I'd allow the chief to speak for the department, but same thing. The city as a whole always upholds the rule of law and the U.S. Constitution. we support the resolution in concept, but I would agree that these two particular be it resolves are not necessary.
Okay, I got one more question. I'm gonna let the police chief speak. Can the Department of Administration provide any updates or insights regarding activities within the city, including whether there have been any reported due process violations?
Thank you, Chair Tulba. Not to my knowledge, but I would defer to the chief on specifics when it comes to law enforcement.
Chief Vanek?
Aloha, Chair Tulba, Vice Chair, and committee members. Ditto to everything he said. And I'm not aware of any violations.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? Okay, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I had a couple. Thank you, Chief. I was going to ask Deputy Managing Director, and as he comes up, I'm just curious if you could tell me more why the explanation was needed, because oftentimes when there's a resolution that's affirming what the city does, the administration would just be like, oh, we do that, so of course we support. But it seems like there's a level of discomfort, or I guess I'm trying to understand the reason for why you're signaling it out or explaining it in that way. So maybe a little more info would be helpful.
Councilmember, thank you for the opportunity to explain. I don't think it's a matter of discomfort. I think we're cautious of a resolution that maybe calls us to do something that we already do, and thereby future readers of this document might wonder whether we did this in the first place. And it's a clarity issue for us. We uphold the rule of law, we follow the Constitution, all of our memorandums of agreement, all of our agreements are looked at by our lawyers and signed off as to form and legality. And so we just don't want an implication out there or a misunderstanding out there with anybody that somehow that wasn't happening previously, or that wouldn't happen going forward unless this happened, unless this reso passed. Thank you.
That's super helpful. So you'd be more comfortable if it was amended to say the council supports the mayor's continued review instead of saying we requesting review, and then similarly in the last paragraph, requesting the HPD continue to confine. That would be in line with what the administration is doing, so I'd expect logically that would be okay.
Councilmember, if that were to be an amendment, that would be more in line with what's currently correct.
Okay, I appreciate that. I don't know if that resolves Councilmember Kia'aina's concerns, but I just am asking because I think a part of it is, we had 82-ish testifiers in support. The comments were in support. No testifiers in opposition. Of course, I think we have many people that aren't here today. I know city has even been supporting communities, marginalized communities that at times have expressed fear, even showing up at city meetings, right? And so I just want to caution all of us and raise that because this is important, I think, to those that are watching. And I don't want, just as you're not wanting a misinterpretation of what the city's values are, maybe I should say what the mayor isn't or isn't doing, I think he's doing a great job. I know he's been supportive. I've talked to you, Chief Vanek, Managing Director. I think there's all agreement that no one's gung-ho, let's sign up and do all these different things. But I just feel like to those that are watching, I think making sure if we're on the same page, we should all be on the same page together. And no one's brought it up. But to the extent that there are further, not from you, but cautions from other people, I mean, if there's a concern that something as inoffensive and low level as this is going to trigger additional attention, then I think that's the bigger issue, right? I mean, we're in a pretty bad space if that's the case, and I'm not saying it is, but if something as minor as just saying, hey, we're going to respect folks' constitutional rights and the city's not going to be complicit in anything, and we're going to be valuing everybody, particularly those folks that aren't showing up to work or school or are afraid to come out or engage with city services. I think for me, I'm more concerned about what those members of our community are going through and experiencing. And so that's the only reason I'm asking and pushing on it a little bit. But of course, I'm not a voting member on the committee, so appreciate Chair entertaining me being here. Mahalo.
Councilmember Los Santos.
Thank you, Chair. I actually have two questions for Chief Anik. And these questions may not seem pertinent to the exact reso, but they will be in the end. And so I wanted to ask, could you paint a picture of what the capacity situation and perhaps overcrowding is in the county jail? That is, people who are arrested awaiting their appearance in court, people, you know, over the weekend. What's the current situation on a daily basis in our HPD holding cells?
In our holding cells at
Yes.
HPD?
Yeah, at HPD. When you arrest somebody and they're waiting trial, do we have enough space as it stands right now?
Yes. We don't have any holding cell issues.
Okay. And then regarding overtime pay, could you just sort of remind us what the overtime situation is, just as a big picture issue? I know we're 460 something officers short, and how much of your budget is spent on overtime issues?
We use overtime to fill slots that aren't filled, whether they be in patrol or any other non-patrol divisions. As far as the exact number that we spend on overtime, I don't have those numbers. They're not terribly large, but we do allocate a decent amount towards filling those spots that go unfilled.
And then I know we throw out the number of patrol officer shortages. It's 400 something. Do you have the exact number as it stands today?
So for patrol, it's not the 400 something that's across our entire department.
Okay.
We're actually lower 400 now because we recently just sent about 43 officers out into assignments. So I believe the number is about probably around 410, something like that.
Oh, well, that's good news to all of us. We're all operating, I think, under, you know, much higher numbers. That's good news to hear, but still 410 is a lot of vacancies. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you, Chair. I stand by my previous comments and my motion to strike those two provisions. I do believe the underlying resolution gets the job done. And I also stand on my record and commitment to immigrant communities, indigenous communities, and all human rights.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you to everyone who came out today to participate in this discussion. Thank you, students. Understand that we want residents to feel safe and respected. This resolution restates rights that are currently fully guaranteed by the U.S. and Hawaii constitutions. Our police and every city department are already bound to honor due process and equal protection for every person on this island. Because the resolution restates constitutional protections and legal obligations that already fully apply to every person on Oahu and bind all city departments, I'm going to propose that we amend the resolution to delete two parts that request the mayor to review all agreements and tell HPD to stay in its lane. That wording suggests that administration or police might overstep. We have no reason to think they would. Also be deleting the third and fourth, be it further resolve clauses that reference the mayor and the Honolulu Police Department. So the chair recommends that resolution 25-301 be amended to a CD1 and as discussed. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? This resolution has been amended to a CD1. Okay, the chair then recommends that resolution 25-301, CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion? Councilmember Wire?
Thank you, Chair. One of Mahalo, of course, Chair's leadership in this. Again, not a voting member, so just wanted to comment specifically on the totality of the conversation today. And just reaffirm my values. I know the idea of someone being illegal has come up. I don't think anyone on Oahu is illegal, right? We have folks with different levels of status and paperwork, and we know that that varies from folks that have been present in overstayed visas to those that have legitimate asylum claims, to a whole host of different situations, and those folks oftentimes haven't committed crimes and are facing a lot of pressure. I would want to encourage them to engage with organizations. Given that there's other advice put forward today, I would discourage that and encourage them to engage with organizations and advocates, particularly those in the legal field, for advice on how to proceed and how to engage with the federal government during these times. And would just note that I think all of us, regardless of the resolution, just through discussions and just seeing how my colleagues live out their daily lives, have an appreciation for the diversity of Hawaii. And just want to reaffirm that's my position, and I'll continue to support this city engaging in uplifting every community member, particularly immigrant community. So mahalo, Chair.
Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you. I don't need to be educated on legal immigrants or illegal immigrants and be cautioned about my comments. The fact is there are illegal immigrants here in Hawaii and the rest of the country. Some because for whatever reason, they escaped and they're going through processes, but there are still some who are not going through processes. So they're illegal. I'm just stating a fact. And, to say that I have to work with others to educate myself is a little offensive. So it's completely unnecessary since I already support the underlying intention of this measure. And I feel that I have dedicated decades of my life to fighting for immigrant populations, for our citizens from the freely associated states of Micronesia, and our indigenous communities as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wara, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to reiterate, my comments are directed explicitly at those in our community that are being affected. I'm not here to dictate or control what type of language anyone uses, but I wanted folks in our community, specifically those individuals, irrespective of what anyone in this chamber thinks, to know that I don't see them as an illegal person. I see their value and their presence here, and I'm not trying to educate anyone in this chamber. I'm trying to ensure that everyone on this island feels safe and knows that they can engage city services and be supported. So thank you, Chair, for allowing this conversation.
Right, let's move forward. Okay, Council.
Thank you, Chair. Even though I'm not a member of the committee, I want to return this to the substance of the resolution here. And part of the reason why I signed on to this resolution with Councilmember Wire is about a month ago, I had the chance to sit down with a colleague of mine, a council member from a large city in Texas. And we talked about some of the issues that we're facing here in Hawaii and he's facing in his city in Texas. And in Texas, sheriffs in every county across Texas are not just cooperating with federal immigration enforcement, but they're required to, they're directed to by state law. And what this has resulted in his telling and in numerous articles that have covered this, it's resulted in issues of overcrowding in their county jails, which is not reimbursed by the federal government. This has resulted in staffing shortages because their officers are being directed to take time out of their business of enforcing Texas law. And it's also resulted in overtime, also not reimbursed. And that's why I asked these questions of Chief Vanek to get a sense of where we're at in terms of this. Because if we are ever asked to participate or perhaps ever required to do so, it's going to have negative effects on our police officers' ability to do their charter-mandated job, which is to enforce our local laws, the ordinances that we as the council pass, as well as the state statutes that the folks across the street at the state legislature pass. And so that's really the core of my concern here. And I know the whole semantics over someone's immigration status, the whole semantics of whether the resolution seems to imply that the city's doing this or not. To me, what's more important is the practical effects here. Because if it ever comes to pass that we are forced to, compelled to, directed to participate in federal enforcement efforts on the local level here, it's going to have these negative effects. that it's already having for local police jurisdictions in places like Texas and Florida. And so I guess in closing, as we wrap up debate on this measure, I want to make it clear that I hope that the day does not come that we as the council say we should have been more vocal and we should have stuck up more and we should have done this or that. And so I think we have to stay on top of these things. That's why I introduced, this res along with Councilmember Wire, and that's why it has the language that it does, because we do need to be vocal. There is a need to do this, and there is a need to draw at least some line in the sand as to what we think is the right thing to do and what's going to protect, our people and result in our laws on the local and state level as directed by our city charter to be enforced. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this healthy discussion. I'm going to continue. Any objections? All right. Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Thank you again, everyone in the chamber that came to testify. All right, members, we'll be taking up items 4 through 7 together. Item number 4, Resolution 25-3112, accepting a gift valued at $3,100 to the city from the Honolulu Zoological Society for tuition and airfare for Mammal Keeper 2, Sarah Haney, to attend the Zoo Hoof Stock Trim Program Level 2 course in Columbus, Ohio from March 9 to the 11th, 2026. Item number 5, Resolution 25-311, accepting a gift valued at $23,715 to the city from the Honolulu Zoological Society for McClure International Consulting to provide expertise to the Honolulu Zoo elephant staff on elephant foot care, husbandry, animal behavior, and team development. Item number 6, Resolution 25-310, accepting gifts with a total of $20,471.62 to the city from the Honolulu Zoological Society, consisting of $5,000 for 8 solid roller balls, including shipping to provide enrichment for Lions Enzi and Moxie, $3,591.62, for a new support leg for the playground slide, including installation and patching of safety surface on the pad, and $11,880 for Pat's Hay Chopper to chop hay for elephants, Mari and Vagai, hope I said that name correctly, to ensure improved consumption. And item number 7, Resolution 25-307, accepting a gift valued at $14,858.63 to the city from the Honolulu Zoological Society for concrete coating to be applied to the Zebra Barn holding area, which includes the back hallway and the keeper walkway. And from the administration, we have Director of the Department of Enterprise Services, Dita Hollyfield.
Good afternoon, Chair. It's great to see you, Vice Chair, Chair Waters, and City Council members. So exciting times at the Honolulu Zoo, and this over $60,000 in gifts from the Honolulu Zoological Society is so necessary for us to continue our welfare and all the programs. I want to say a special thank you to Mary Benson, who is the Executive Director of the Honolulu Zoo Society. Someone like Sarah Haney, who we can't afford to send to get training. It's just invaluable in terms of retaining great candidates and recruitment and being able to offer the ongoing training for specialized, especially with animal welfare. It's an honor and we're so excited. In addition to that, I wanted to just share some exciting news. We just finished yesterday with 3 of our, the AZA hearing. They came, we met with them. We did a great job. Our next steps will be going to Atlanta in March to have the final hearing with everybody, but there have been years when we've had 17 items, 10 items that we had to really overcome and our challenges, but we only had 2 yesterday in our recap. So we are so excited because we feel like this is an opportunity to have a 5-year accreditation. And so we're looking forward to marching towards that. Also, what's new at the zoo, we're going to be unveiling a new mascot. next year, and we have got a lot of fun things. We've got a couple trains that are going to be free for Keiki to ride, and we just have a lot of exciting things coming. The zoo has never been so beautiful. We have a big mahalo to our friends at DFM and DES who have also joined forces. It's spectacular. It's pristine. You've never seen the Honolulu Zoo look like it does today. And then a big shout out, I want to thank the team from HPD. So one of the things they always want to make sure is that our animals are safe in case of a breakout or our visitors. And so the HPD was unbelievable. They came out, they did a drone demonstration, they went through all the safety protocols, and so that was very, very impressive from the team from the mainland. So a big mahalo, of course, to Mayor Blangiardi, MD, and Krishna, who really made it all happen for us, and we look forward to coming bigger and better with great news.
All right, members, any questions for the director? Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you for the update and all of the good things that are going on there. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I do know that I've been seeing a lot of measured improvement at the zoo, and so I'm looking forward to continued improvement. Kudos to your social media staff, because I see a lot of my feed now, and I see they're very active.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask about the choo-choo train that I understand is going to be coming to the zoo. What is the status of the choo-choo train? And also, what do you have in store for Christmas?
So we're very excited about the choo-choo train. We were able to have through some gifting the choo-choo train that was at the Kamakana Ali'i and the choo-choo train that was at the Windward Mall. So together we're going to create one big super train, and it's going to start at the Keiki Zoo. And for the weary travelers, the parents and the Keiki, they can take the train up to the front and back. In addition, we have just signed a 10-year, the first ever, in the concession area where we have a new SSA 10-year for online ticketing, modernization, shocking as that is, yay, and food and beverage. So it's a new day at the zoo.
When is the choo-choo train going to become available? And then you have to answer my second question. What are you planning for Christmas?
So the choo-choo train is planned, we're hoping to launch for the Christmas season, and we will be able to start taking the Keiki to and from the train stop at the Keiki Zoo. But it is in a secret location, currently on the grounds at the Blaisdell, as we are working to make sure it is inoperable when it's time for Christmas.
Awesome. Okay, guys, all the council members are going to be riding the choo train.
We're calling it the local motive.
Like the choo
You're welcome.
train.
You're welcome.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone in the council chamber that wants us to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, we'll move to online testimony. Is there anyone online?
Yes, Chair, we have Angela Young and a phone number 175.
Okay, go ahead, Angela.
Well, hello. I'm excited for Christmas. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. So Angela, testifying on behalf of ROAR, Rescue of Animal Rights. And yeah, so animals, throughout the chaos of life, animals will always bring joy to us. We shouldn't overlook animals and really learn to appreciate animals. The entertainment and social benefits and educational aspects of animal exhibits helps to improve the quality of life, as well as it helps to improve our mental health. And it creates shared family experiences for our communities. So yeah, I'm in favor. And you should do maybe like kitties in the Christmas display.
Thank you, Angela. Is there anyone else? Okay, I do see last week you just 175. I think that's Mr. Gary. Go ahead. Tim, you online? Okay.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say,
Hello. I just wanted to say great job Dita's doing. And I wish we could replicate the zoo society and all our other departments on the island. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. All right, is anybody else on line?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, we are in discussion, members. All right, the chair recommends that resolution 25-312 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, the chair recommends that resolution 25-311 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, the chair recommends that resolution 25-3. Oh, Councilmember Kiana, we need quorum, so thank you. Almost. Okay, we good? All right, the chair recommends that resolution 25-310 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, the chair recommends that resolution 25-307 be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. All right, we'll move on to item number 8, Bill 46, requiring the Honolulu Police Department to release certain public information to the media and to the public. Members, the committee approved a posted CD1 version at the September 25, 2025 meeting. We have a proposed posted CD1 submitted by myself. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, all right. Pursuant to Council Rule 8, I designate Chair Waters to be a temporary voting member. Thank you so much for helping us achieve quorum. Okay, so as I was saying, we have a proposed CD1 submitted by myself for your information. The amendments are listed on the agenda. And from the administration, we have Interim Police Chief Roddy Vanek.
Aloha, Chair Tulba, Vice Chair Kiaina, and committee members, Council Member Chair Waters. I don't have a formal testimony to provide, but I am here to answer any questions that you folks may have for me.
Members, any questions for the chief?
I will state that I'm in support of the intent of this bill. I will provide an update that despite this still going through the process, committee, I'm guessing if it gets past this and goes to full committee, so despite it going through this process, we've actually already released the alert system to the media. They're in the process of going through beta testing. From what I understand, it's a success so far. We haven't received any complaints. I believe we've released it to 16 individuals already, the executives and select reporters. So they're testing it out based on information that they've provided to us. We've had numerous meetings. So this wasn't something that we developed just on our own. It was developed in cooperation, conjunction with feedback from them. So this is, I think, a true partnership. So despite what happens with this, I think this is something we're already doing. I would maybe make one comment and request that maybe consideration is given to the reporting requirement here. One thing that I noticed is that there's a requirement for a report and then a continual annual report. I'm just wondering, the information that's being asked is the type of, information that's being reported or information that's being given to the media on an annual basis. But really that information is going to stay pretty consistent, which kind of means that the report is going to be fairly redundant every single year. I'm wondering how much the council is going to actually get out of that report. It's not the same as like a report that we provide to the state legislature on like disciplinary action, where that information is changing every single year. So really, in essence, it's just adding to another required report that we're doing every single year. I mean, if it's something that you guys want us to do, it's not a real big ask. It's literally hitting print at the end of each year. So it's not, like I said, again, it's not a terribly big ask, but I'm just wondering, it is a requirement. Is that something that you guys really want? How much are you guys gonna benefit from it? I would recommend maybe reconsider that. If you guys just really want an update, it's just as easy as asking us, hey, what are you guys doing? And it's me coming, or any future chief or administrator coming and saying, hey, this is where we're at this time. Instead of legislating another required annual report. So maybe that would just be my only comment.
Chair Waters?
Thank you, Chair Tulba. Yeah, I'm okay with that, but maybe we can change the word report to annual update. That way it's not so formal, but you can just come in through the Public Safety Committee to update the committee. I mean, the main thing that I was concerned about is that, you know, you've been fantastic. And I want to thank you and your team for working with us and working with the media to get to this point. But we just don't know what's going to happen in a year. And that way, if you update us, we can always make amendments to make the law even stronger at that point. But I'm okay if you are chair with update instead of report, because report, yeah, it sounds like you have to do a lot of work, and we don't want to take time away from your busy schedule. So update is okay? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions? I see your communications director. Would she like to come up and say a few words? Ms. Springer?
Aloha. I'm kind of a shy gal, so this is crazy, but it's very lovely to be here. Hello.
I just thought that maybe since this is your first council meeting, would you wanted to say a few words?
I do. I after being at HPD for about 4 months now, I think the thing that I most want to share is the authenticity and the truth of everything that Chief has ever shared. The intent for transparency, the intent for it to be a partnership is legitimate. And it's really heartening for me as a constituent and also somebody who wants to work under that kind of leadership. The transparency piece is real. The concern about the privacy is also really important. So I'm glad that the crime alerts that we're doing right now addresses both of those, and I feel I get them all day, every day, and it's extraordinary, the summaries that we're getting. So I'm proud to be a part of this whole process, but I also want to applaud HPD, who's been doing this for years. And thank you very much for your openness to change this. I would like to see the bill not happen, if I'm being honest with you at all, but I'm happy that we're already creating solutions together. Thank you.
Any questions for the testifier? All right. Okay, we'll go to in-person testimony. I see someone in the chamber. Go ahead, your first and last name.
Yeah, my name is John Dutzman. I'm from Waikiki. I'm retired. I had 30 years in the television news business, both in New York City and Miami. Got 13 Emmy Awards. I'm somewhat qualified in this field. I support this measure along with the chief, with one major exception. I don't think the city or any government is any position to designate what a legitimate media organization is. In this bill, you designate who you think is worthy of receiving this information. When this used to be on the public airwaves, it was public information. This is public information. And if you go through with this, it should still be public information. You're in no position to exclude the many online social media platforms that I rely on for breaking news. Quite frankly, they're kicking butt on the legacy media on breaking news. I go to Hungry Hawaiian or Stolen Stuff if I want to know anything that's going on.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions for the testifier? All right. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Okay, anybody else in the chamber that would like to testify? State your first and your last name, sir.
Sorry, Jason Hagiwara, KITV and KIQ Island News. Aloha, Chair Tulba and committee members and Chair Waters. As an independent news organization, it is unusual to see media leaders be involved in the legislative process, as our role is to be observers and reporters for our audiences, not be part of any kind of lobbying sort of initiative. So I just wanted to kind of point that out. With that said, representing the viewers who trust us each day, I asked the Public Safety Committee and council members to pass through Bill 46 that provides information. It provides an information conduit for Oahu Police dispatch incidents, allowing journalists to share vital news to viewers, readers, and listeners. Police Chief Vanek and his communications team have already started this internal process, as they already mentioned, and I appreciate his leadership and his understanding of the media's role in the global public safety mission. Moving Bill 46 to law will solidify the intent of this legislation for now and the years to come. Thank you.
Any question for the testifier? Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to online testimony. Is there any person online?
Yes, Chair, we have Matthew and 175 phone number.
Okay, go ahead, Matthew. You gotta unmute. Thanks, Matt.
Chair, thank you. I hope you looked at my written testimony. Until the time comes that we can finally get this solidified, this has to be completely rejected. The unholy alliance between the media, the mainstream media rather, and Honolulu police is something that's going to contribute to plutocracy and oligarchy for Hawaii's free speech ecosystem. And Honolulu police, if they don't include me in the definition of a qualified media organization, this bill has to be rejected 100%. Look, 10 years, local media outlet, that language is abhorrent. I mean, look, these local media outlets are now positioning themselves, it's a big five, it's a corporate oligarchy, they're positioning themselves for acquisition by rich people on the mainland, pyramid hierarchies on the mainland, also people like, Sheldon Adelson, who owns LVRJ. They want to be acquired, they want to maintain their position. And what that does is make sure people can't come in. Outsiders aren't the worst thing. Outsiders are good. And I think we should have this completely gotten rid of, because we need people coming in like epinephrine media on scene TV that has access to all these feeds so they can freelance us.
Thank you, Matthew.
Sure.
Any questions for the testifier? Okay, let's move on to last three digits, 175.
Hello, can you hear me, Augie?
Can. Go ahead, Mr. Gary.
Yeah, Tim Gary. I agree with both of the previous testifiers. They both make valid points. And also, I'd like to alert the public that if they want to give testimony for the ocean safety chief, it's available online through the ocean safety website. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. Is there anybody else online?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, members, we are in discussion. Chair Waters.
Thank you. Just want to thank you, Chair Tulba, for your hard work and diligence and your proposed CD1. It was a lot of hard work. And, you working with the department and as well as the media outlets that come to this point really is something that is fantastic. As you may know, I've introduced a version of this bill at least twice now, going back maybe 3 years. So the fact that we're almost there is very, very heartening. So thank you for your hard work, and hopefully we can get it past the finish line. Thank you.
Thank you. I do actually have a question. One more question for Police Chief Vanek. Chief Vanek, you know, the bill mentions that the messaging alerts must be sent no more than 10 minutes after the occurrence, receipt, or entry of the information into HPD's communication system. I know we had lengthy discussion at the last committee regarding the 10 minutes because it gives HPD officers lead time to respond to the scene. I support this, and I understand that HPD has committed to hopefully improving the timelines, the timeliness of alerts to one day possibly having it lowered to 5 minutes. Do you have any comments on that?
I think for now, we'd like to keep it at 10 minutes and in the future, see if maybe we can reduce that. But for now, we'd like to stick to 10 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, any more questions for? All right, members, I do want to move the amendments forward today, and I want to take into considerations the chief's requests regarding the report. But we'll take a look at introducing something at full council. Is that okay? Okay, go ahead, Councilmember.
And I just want to make sure with regard to the minutes, where are we on the minutes? How many minutes? Are we going to stay? Okay,
10 minutes.
okay, thank you. I support that.
Okay. All right. So the chair recommends that Bill 46, 2025 be amended to a posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-871 11/3/2025 at 1:39 p.m. Any discussions? Any objections? Sorry.
Just discussion. I think we can amend the bill now to just wherever it says report, and OCS can do it, to what was the word that we wanted to use, Chief? Update. Just change report to update. That way, when it comes to full council is always very busy, usually lasts 6-7 hours. So if we can avoid floor amendments at full council, so if we just say wherever it says report in the reporting section, change it to update, that should be sufficient. I believe that's on page 5, under the subsection reports.
Okay. The chair recommends that Bill 46, 2025 be amended to a posted CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0871 11/3/2025 at 1:39 p.m. Be further amended to incorporate the additional amendments discussed today, change your report to update. Any discussions? Any objections? Any reservations? Okay. The bill has been amended to a CD1. The chair then recommends that Bill 46, 2025 CD1 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you, members. Okay, moving on to item number 9, informational briefing, an update on the city's administration funding, federal funding coordination efforts, including the impact of federal government shutdown on city services. And from the administration, we have Deputy Managing Director Krishna Jaram, as well Director of Office of Economic Revitalization, Amy Asobi.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. If you'll give me 1 second, we'll just get a slide deck up. Chair, thank you for your indulgence. We've been asked to present on the impact of the federal government shutdown on city services, as well as an update on our efforts to more centralize and coordinate federal funding efforts. On the federal government shutdown impact on city services, I want to acknowledge first that there were very real, very human impacts on the communities we serve. At the city level, at the city operational level, the impact itself did not have, the shutdown itself did not have any impacts on our operations. We did support certain efforts as relating to food safety, and I think Amy could potentially speak to that, but if you want a fuller brief on those efforts, we'd certainly be happy to do that. But on the first item, minimal impacts to city operations itself. So I'll focus mainly on the second item, update on federal funding coordination efforts. What I was intending to do is I was going to walk through our efforts over the years, focusing on the appropriations made by City Council.
Chair, before he moves on, are you going to, that means you've stopped on that? The only question I have are, regarding impact. So you're telling me there's no impact to the Department of Community Services because they're the most dependent on federal funding?
Our Councilmember Kiana, thank you for the question. Confirming that I spoke to Director Krucky, they did not have any operational impacts as a result of the shutdown.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course. So, Chair, what we'll be doing is I'll walk through each of the appropriations or efforts, what worked, what didn't work. I will turn it over to Amy Asselby with the Office of Economic Revitalization. And I'd like to end, we have our new federal funding coordinator online to introduce herself and speak to her efforts. For the Council's awareness, there are, of course, many departments that are very good at getting federal grants and federal funding. What this discussion is about is sort of a more centralized effort with respect to those departments that are not as good as they could be yet. And so over the years, we've tried a number of things, and I'll start with two that were a struggle for us. In early years, 21 and 23, money was provided for us to hire a federal grants team. The first time was in 21, with Ordinance 2120, $200,000. And we gave it a very hard try to find people who could fill this role. I think there are individuals behind me who could have filled this role, but we couldn't get them at the time. And so that was a source of funds that we were unable to use. Then there was Ordinance 2315, where we were again tasked with creating a centralized BFS function. And so BFS did put together a team, not using those funds because we could use it with existing personnel. So they did put together a team that on a every other week basis, we're contacting departments, letting them know about different funding opportunities, checking in with them, asking them if they'd be applying. If so, what could they do to help? If not, why not? Ultimately, that effort, it was a challenge. It stalled on both the application side and the grant writing process side. So ultimately, we pivoted yet again. And so with the support of council, as you'll see up there, and I'll go in chronological order. The Office of Economic Revitalization, understanding the importance of this effort to the city, decided to do, using SLFRF funds, what is essentially a pilot-like project that focused on the agencies under the Managing Director's office. And the goal was, and I won't speak too much on this because they are here, was to understand current capacity, identify barriers, and strengthen our capacity to seek, implement, and administer grant awards. So they'll be speaking to this item. We also had a MOA that we entered into with the Ulupono Initiative to help with the technical support piece. That MOA was extraordinarily helpful, but it does only focus on food, energy, transportation, freshwater, and we are currently looking at two projects that they've been working with Ulupono on our city departments. Then in Ordinance 24-9, working with council, we had funds to identify a Washington, D.C. advisor. We thought that was an important piece of the puzzle. And so we were able to do that in June of this year. And the purpose of that advisor is to identify diverse funding opportunities, monitor federal developments, and also foster strong relationships with the federal government. And finally, and this is the piece that I'm most excited about, again, with the support of the council, Ordinance 2536, there was $250,000 provided to yet again try to create a centralized coordinated function this time within the managing director's office directly. And so we've been able to find somebody who will be that coordinator. Her name is Erika Moritsugu. She's known to many of you. She'll be online and we'll talk more, but her role will be to coordinate with all the city departments, understanding their needs and capabilities, setting overall strategy, identifying federal funding opportunities, and overseeing us in a more centralized fashion. So I want to thank council for all of the support through the years. I know that we didn't hit all the cylinders right away, but I feel like we're getting there. And I want to pause here and see if there's any questions before I get to my next slide.
Councilmember Kiaina.
Sure, just couple of things. Oh, your next slides. No, why don't you have one more page?
Just one more, council member.
Yeah, why don't we go there and then I'll ask. Thanks.
Thank you, council member. So my next slide is simply about what are we focused on next. So Erika is on board. She's on board since Monday, so it's very exciting. And one of our first tasks will be to figure out what else she needs for her team. So that's the next project for us while she learns about the city, while she learns about the city's needs, the departmental needs. Additionally, there is the contract that Amy will be speaking to, and so that needs to finish as well. And I think having Erika here now, she'll be a voice in that discussion going forward. And then, of course, there's recommendations that's coming out of this pilot project that focus on the MDO, and we'll be focusing on how to implement those recommendations going forward. And finally, this last one, it's one of those things that we've always wanted to focus on. Something to discuss with Erika is building up DDC's muscle and ability to do more federal projects. Thank you, Chair and council members.
Okay, Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you. Thank you for all of your updates. I'm not going to be lengthy because I do know that we're short for time and then we're going to have a presentation. But a couple of things. I'm just appreciate your hiring the DC consultant. I'm looking at the history of what the City Council has provided, $250,000 in 2024 and $500,000 in 2025. And you are utilizing the 2024 funds. So I just want, as we are moving forward, I want the whole reason to do this is we have all available resources at our disposal to get the job done. Despite what is going on in the White House and the Congress, there are still hundreds of millions of dollars to be had for the city and county of Honolulu, and I want some of those funds. Through all processes,
understood.
That's not just to the congressional process, but through the competitive discretionary funds part, yeah? So I just want to make sure that the administration is open-minded. That should, because now we have 250 and 500,000, two pots. So that should we need to look at expanding our services, that we do so. I just want to make sure that you are aware that this flexibility is built into this. So, okay?
Councilmember, I'll confirm that we are aware and that this is amply funded for those pivots as necessary.
Okay. Second, with regard to the Office of Economic Revitalization's funding out of the SLRF funding stream, because we now have a coordinator and we're consolidating, you might want to consider transferring that current RFP to the federal grants coordinating team. And then lastly, on the big picture, I just would like to see some measurable outcomes based on agencies, like a dashboard, whatever fashion, that you could actually show where they are now with regard to the monies they receive, whether it be formula, discretionary, or congressional, so that we could see over time. And so we could know what our return on investment is, and I hope it's going to be a lot. Again, DTS, because they do have a team, they seem to be on track. They need to share their knowledge with other agencies, including DDC. They're at $100 million in discretionary grants, yeah? That's separate from the formula funds. That's all good stuff. I know Department of Emergency Management needs COCOA. They got some funding, significant funding. But anyway, that's all. And just look forward to working with you and the new federal grants coordinator. Welcome, Erika. You're online, Erica, and look forward to the presentation from the Office of Economic Revitalization. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember, thank you. If I may, just on your very last point, we've already started that discussion, and I've been talking to the budget director about how to measure the success of these investments. So thank you.
And you guys will be having an interagency coordinated group that will work with the federal grants coordinator, correct?
Correct.
Thanks.
Aloha Chair Tulba, Vice Chair Kia Aina, and Councilmember Nishimoto. My name is Amy Osselby. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of Economic Revitalization. So thank you for having us here today as we get the presentation ready. I am happy just to provide a short introduction to Melissa Hamp, who is one of the team of OER's grants contractor group. So back in June of 2024, we signed a contract with Essential Leap and a number of other support organizations. And we've been working with them to look at our capacities, look at some of our successes, and also some of the challenges within the managing director's offices. And it includes OER, the Office of Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency, and once the Office of Housing, but they were reorged, as you guys all know, since that time, and thus they are not still in our working group. But I'd like to acknowledge Constancio Perenal and Madison Priest, who are a very important part of executing this work on the daily basis. Constancio manages the grant and works with the team regularly. We have a number of tasks that are still ahead of us, but right now, today, we are here to talk about the capacity analysis that the team conducted through interviews and work with the managing director's offices since June of 2024. I wanted to let you know that it looks like this contract will continue through the year 2026. We have a learning lab, we have templates to be developed, and we have opportunities to continue to work with them on grant applications that are coming out. And finally, I would say also, we've been able to take advantage of the opportunity to work with the Ulupono initiative to apply for grants that intersect with the areas that both they and the city have as a priority. So with that, I'll hand it over to Melissa to share her presentation.
Thank you. Aloha Chair, aloha Vice Chair, Councilmember Nishimoto. Appreciate the opportunity to come before you today. I'm here representing a team, so Essential Leap as one of the prime here, and we're subs to them as SR partners. We also have Nicola Hedge, who used to work in one of the MDOs here, who has tremendous experience and was behind the capacity analysis, as well as Lirio Hiddle. So between the four of us, we've brought experience from all of the levels of government, as well as nonprofit, and of course, currently private sector, and combined have been able to work with entities, including a lot of local governments and state governments across the country, to be able to help them obtain more than $2 billion in different federal and foundation awards. And so bringing that experience here to be able to help the city go after more of that money that the Councilmember Kiana said that she wants to get for the city. So I'm happy to bring that to you all. And also I feel very privileged to have been a part of the Ulupono Initiative team to also work with some of your departments, as well as through Huanani Partners, helping DTS obtain money there as well. So, and one more, Hawaii Community Foundation and the Hawaiian Islands Environmental Finance Center. So those have all been pro bono grants assistance to different parts of the city, and that has also informed some of what we've been doing. So, okay, so this is pretty heavy on process. I'm going to go through this very quickly, and you guys have the slides, so, and move right into the recommendations. But basically, you know, we have undergone a pretty lengthy process so that we could give the tools to the MDOs that can then be shared with probably other parts of the city, so that you can have, oh, yes.
I'm sorry, so this is on the public, right? So you guys are using acronyms. So in your PowerPoints, and can you say, people don't, managing director's
Sure.
office and all the offices, could you guys please using acronyms?
Yes. Yeah, apologies for that. Yeah, the managing director's office, so that has included a number of different offices. You heard from Amy already with the Office of Economic Revitalization. We've also worked with the Climate Change, Sustainability, and Resiliency Office, as well as the Mayor's Office of Culture and the Arts. And we were also working on the housing side before that got transformed to the Department of Housing and Land Management. So those are the different offices we've been working with so far, but again, there are lessons learned that can help, other parts of the city. And so this, again, is very heavy on process, but, if we can capture efficiencies in process, if we can get better and streamline these things, if we can have templates and training for everybody in these processes, then, it can lead to more success in the federal funding capture, as well as for philanthropic dollars. And so just to let you know very quickly what we went through, and this is a lot of work, but a lot of learning too. So, we have concept paper that we used for, looking at different projects, about 3 to 5 per managing director office. And so with that, we went through all of the different things that maybe funders might be interested in seeing as to whether something could be fundable. The budget, do you have match? Do you have partners in the community? What is it that you're going to be doing with this? Just things so that, those things are thought through. And that helps us with a number of different things, including the next phase, which is prospecting for the different funding opportunities that could fit those concepts. And so, without really thinking that through, it's really hard to try to figure out, are you chasing the money if you're going after a particular grant or not? Or does it actually fit? And so that was the next step. With each of the different concepts that were then fleshed out for each of the offices, then we identified 3 to 5 different funding opportunities, mostly on the federal side, but also foundation, and did an analysis as to fit, as to, what the strengths and weaknesses were for the concept per the funder, and made sure those were aligned so that those could come to a very good plan as to what those concepts could be pursuing. And then, we did go into actual grant writing and development for a number of those already, and so more to come. So even if the presentation is labeled final report, it's not final. We still have a lot of work to do, as Amy was talking about. So if I can get to, then skipping ahead to the objectives and key findings. So this is part of the capacity analysis that Amy talked about. This was led by Nicola and Liria with Hiddle and Hedge. But this is something where we had different surveys, received 26 responses, also heard from Budget and Finance, but really took a look at what the challenges were in trying to get to greater success in the federal funding and other, otherwise external funding capture. We found a lot of positive things. Empowerment is very high among the staff here. Again, the city has come to a lot of different successes in this, but it's been a bit scattershot. So refinement in the strategy is really needed. There have been inconsistent factors to pursue grants, so coming to some of the tools that we provided, and getting to a go, no-go process quickly means better increased competitiveness of an application. Existing staff also have said that they have the potential to increase their grant-related activities, but really need the dedicated training and support so they can get to that. So staff estimate the ability to increase grant activities up to 30% for the next fiscal year, and maybe beyond, if we can actually capture even more efficiencies. But some of the staff really lack the grants experience. They feel unprepared to manage the federal grants, and so internal training would really be helpful, and that's something we can help provide as well. Procurement came up a lot, and I understand that there are efforts by BFS to relook at that system and try to understand what else can be changed. But because of the length of the procurement process, it made it difficult for some of these applications to get to the deadline with the partners that they needed, for instance. And so, being able to look at that again, as well as looking at a shared software system that could be widely available to deliver the necessary steps for the procurements, that would reduce confusion, reduce wasted time, and improve the consistency. We also found that the city loses out on significant grants by not having clear fit-for-purpose processes for offices to develop the partnerships within the required funder deadlines. And that, again, gets back to the procurement process, because you kind of live and die by your collaborations nowadays in terms of your competitiveness for grants. These funders want to see everybody working together with community-based organizations and other parts of the community. And so that process needs to be fit better within the procurement process that you have here. And then, we also do see novel approaches. We see innovations that are occurring, but, it's good for to have them scaled up and translate across to other parts of the city. So cross-departmental collaboration is really important. It could really help. Okay, so just getting to the top 3 recommendations to increase the city's capacity here is staff, and I think this is something that Erica, I'm so glad that she's on board, can strategically review any staff capacity increases that could be needed, such as cross-department positions, cross-office positions that could support the procurements and grant administration. That could really help, as well as, again, procurement efficiencies. So learning from those that came up during the SLFRF process, as it was referred to, as well as, again, revisiting the procurement rules so that there are processes, policies, training, templates that can help these offices get to competitive grant applications within the deadlines. Okay. And then some other recommendations as well, just formalizing grant strategies. So as Amy talked about, we're developing templates. We have these things that could be available to other departments. That could be looking at how a grant idea is as competitive as it possibly can be and how it can be aligned with what the funder wants and get you to success. But you also need training in these templates and these processes. So, making these things available on Honolulu U, other means, other systems, as well as maybe having these centralized systems that could have case studies that would be helpful for people to take and then very quickly spin up their own idea that could be compelling and successful, as well as past applications, things like that. So a lot of these we can help you capture because of our experience in working with other local governments across the country. I think we're probably out of time here. I would love to answer any questions if you have, but we are going to continue. We're going to get into more writing the grants themselves and more of the training, as well as a project tracker that looks at the funding opportunities that are coming in and who's going after them and where they are in the process. So thank you.
Okay, you want to ask some questions? And
No, not a lot. Okay, well, first of all, thank you. You did focus a lot on capacity, which I think is critically important. Procurement. At the end of the day, that seems to be the barrier. But I just want to make sure, and I know that in your current capacity, you're one of the best in the state with regard to identifying federal grant opportunities. I would just like to see in the long run a little more resources directed towards that. So while you're building capacity, you're simultaneously identifying the universe of grants out there so that people can start educating themselves and go after them. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Chair. I just wanted to applaud the administration, both the Managing Director's Office, as well as the Office of Economic Revitalization and the partners. You've laid out a template that could be broadened and extended to all of the other agencies, and I think it's a great start. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Ms. Morisuga? Okay. All right. We'll do in-person testimony. Is there anyone in the chamber that would like to testify?
Chair, there's Angela.
Oh, just Angela? I don't know about that one. Just joking, Angela. Go ahead, please.
Aloha. Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES. So I think the presentation was a lot, but I think it's nice that the administration is so friendly, working throughout the shutdown. And so I was just going to say, you have so many projects. I am impressed by the partnership with Ulupono because they have focuses on agriculturally grown foods. And I didn't hear anything about the SNAP food stamps, which is very surprising. And I didn't hear anything about the city's capacity to assist grants distribution for universities or for the university's funds. So I'm surprised about that because the SNAP food stamp program helps with food distribution. And also, many students in the city
Thank you, Angela.
depend on it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I do see a hand raised, Miss Morisuga.
It's just me, Chair. Thank you so much. Aloha mai, y'all, Chair and members of the council. I just teeny tiny. You can put the clock on me too if you want. But Krishna had invited me to introduce myself and the work that we have underway 4 days in. And striding forward in terms of federal funding coordination, kind of more of a strategic, kind of an intentional and strategic standpoint. This actually is some work that I've done with many people in the chamber right now when I was at the White House in the Biden-Harris administration, working with the state and with the counties to take advantage of what at the time was unprecedented, once in a generation federal investments where money was flowing. And here we have a moment where there are threats of funding cliffs from the feds right now, and maybe even changed criteria for funding that goes forward if it does go forward. And so even though the opportunity doesn't feel as robust, the effort is very important. The approach that I would take, council members, is actually borrowing a huge page out of a playbook from our beloved Senator Danny Akaka to first start by listening and learning, and then put it into action. And much of this listening and learning has already been underway. I have, experience being on numerous sides of the funding tables, both as a legislative staffer, a White House chief of staffer, a grantee, and a grantor when I was at the Housing and Urban Development Department in the Obama administration. And so all of those pieces kind of fit puzzles together in the way that Councilwoman Kia Aina and Melissa and Amy were talking about in terms of kind of the matrix and the interagency need and strategic information sharing across silos, because we've got these city and county employees who are so diligent, and they keep their heads down and they're churning and they're working and they're producing for the citizens of the county, but they're not talking to each other. And so that's a perspective that I'd like to help bring so that we can see how these things are knitted together, whether they're the formula grants or the discretionary grants and some of the work and capacity building and procurement reforms that Melissa and Councilwoman Kia Aina were talking about, so that we can, harness and optimize and maximize the investments that the County of Honolulu needs and deserves. Thank you. Mahalo.
Thank you and welcome aboard. Let's go get some money.
Let's go get some money.
All right. Okay, with that, council members, thank you guys so much. It's been a very entertaining last 2 hours. Mahalo for everyone attending and participating in today's meeting. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.